Latrice Peterson. She has experience as a special ed teacher, as well as an 18-plus facilitator with the Houston Area School District. And she's been there quite a few years. In 2016, she rolled out the Transition 18-plus program in the Houston Area School District in 10 high schools, serving over 200 individuals with disabilities. She's created some staff development for teachers as well as paraprofessionals. She's provided coaching and collaborated and participated on some leadership teams with campus staff, with community, with families, as well as with other state agencies in the development of community-based experiences for students, which include community exploration and vocational training. So will you please join me in welcoming Latrice Peterson today as our presenter for this training. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon, everyone. Pretty much the Houston Area School for about 7 or 8 years. 4 of those years were years of me doing the 18-plus facilitator job, which they did not have. They had ideas of what they wanted to do, but wanted me to take it to the next level. And so I had a great opportunity of taking off with that. Also, I've been working with special ed and with individuals with disabilities since I was 18 years old, professionally. And then I will say much of what I do and the passion that I have with it is because I do have an older sister who is developmentally disabled. And we got to share a room together for many, many years. So there were many strategies I think I learned through the years just from being a little sister to her. And I saw how that community and skills-based training for her has really extended into her adult life. And she still continues to strive towards independence and has quite a bit of it. She's a great self-advocate, is what I can say. She's learned a lot through the years. So that is definitely a passion for me behind everything that I do. So we'll just go ahead and get started. Building community connections for skills-based training. And so pretty much piggyback it on what Vanessa said and also what is on the flyer. We're just gonna learn about those community connections and how we are going to develop those skills for individuals vocationally, as well as just making sure that they have a vast variety of community experiences. Also, I want to know or want you to know that much of what I'll talk about does not have to just start in high school, and it definitely should not just start when they turn 18. These are some things that you may be able to implement if you are working with individuals even as low as middle school. Of course, elementary can be introduced to some of these things as well. We're going to focus on community sites, whether they be school-based or actually out in the community. And we're going to also kind of discuss some ways we may have to think outside of the box with what's going on with COVID and how maybe we can address still working on skills and maybe not physically going into the community, depending on what your district is allowing at this time. Also, we're going to talk about those assessments, those formal and informal assessments, and how we kind of put all that together to find a site that is the best fit for your students, as well as creating lessons around those assessments and those sites, and utilizing task analysis to individualize as much as possible that vocational training that you'll be implementing for your students. And the one other piece that we'll talk about as well is learning how to communicate with the community to get them to buy into servicing your students and allowing them to be a part of their business and learn those skills that they need to learn, as well as explaining to those partners how they may benefit from it as well. So we'll go through that. So pretty much, we do what we do because federal law, IDEA, section 300.43 states to us that we are responsible for result-oriented processing and to improve the functional achievement of the child with a disability and facilitate their movement from school to post-school activities, including post-secondary, vocational, and integrated employment and community participation. And it goes further into that specifically, that we must base what we do or take into account the child's strengths, preferences, and interests. That includes instruction, related services, community experiences, the development of employment and other post-adult living objectives. And if it is appropriate, we will look at daily living skills and provision of a functional vocational evaluation. I know many of you have seen this before, but this is the basis of why we do what we do for our students. Additionally, though, I wanted to kind of start off with that interest base. I've done this with my classes throughout the years, also with different students. Back in the day, we called it a collage. Many now call it a vision board. And so kind of digging into what that student might be interested in, what their goals are beyond school, it's a great place to start. This is an opportunity for the student to self-advocate, also self-determination, understand what their future might look like and how can they be a part of that. So I always start with that piece with all students because I think that is the best buy-in. Just telling them that they should work is one thing, but if they can see themselves somewhere later in life, that helps. So this is my little vision board. Some things I've achieved, some things I still want to get, but large house, car, I'm sure many of you have done this before. Family, I have a beautiful family. I probably all want more money. Entrepreneurship is one of my goals I'm still trying to, get to. And of course, in the corner there, I have the weight loss. I'm constantly working on that. Some things on this vision board will stay, but I keep it at the forefront to keep striving. So this is a great activity that I love to start with all my students, to just kind of get an idea to know who they are. You can make this as specific or general as you want to. So I thought I'd start off with that. In addition to what the law says, and of course, helping the students obtain their goals, they may not be able to see it right now, but quality of life is important. We want to ensure that our students that go into the world have that quality of life. And according to the Minnesota's Research and Training on Training Center on Community Living, there's some components that they talk about in there. And of course, one of them is promotion of independence, and it's living and participating in their community. And so instead of just being that person with a disability, they are actually a person that lives in their community and participates. And through vocational training and exposure to the community, we can definitely bridge that and get them closer to that goal. Of course, promotion of productivity, living a valued life. Everybody wants to receive a paycheck or get rewarded for what they've done in some type of way. So being productive and feeling like you have value. Again, these vocational experiences and connections with the community will help that individual feel like they are valued in their life. It goes into, of course, keeping them engaged with their family and having that family support. I do kind of talk about that as we go through this process and how we can involve that family and keep the family support up front as we navigate that child or that student through vocational training and handing them off to adult world, state agencies, or what have you. And of course, just having a safe environment to live in. This is a great website that gives a great picture of the ideal life that we would want to have, not only for people with disabilities, but in general, a great way to capture how life should or can be. Community, home, and school. And so this is just that tie-in. A part of vocational training is not just they go to a job, work the job, and that's it. It's about making that connection with the community, as I said before, and also their home. And that means that whatever supports that they have in place, that we're ensuring that that's all connected as you go through this process. And this is somewhat difficult to do as a task, but it's something you just don't want to, how can I say, never lose sight that you're trying to bridge all areas for that student, because that's what they're going to need in order to live a productive life. So we'll jump into some assessments, and later in the Q&A, or as I'm going through this, I would love to hear what type of assessments that you all use right now for vocational. Of course, as a teacher, if you're a teacher, or even if you're a state agency worker, observations is one of the ways that we collect any type of data. It's informal. It can be in class, on campus, off sites, maybe just a general community outing. It just depends on wherever that student might be at the time. Then we have some specific vocational assessments that many, again, districts use. I know that TWC uses a specific one that they assess students on. I'm sure they have a bunch of them, but I've actually got an opportunity to experience some of those that they use. And then, of course, in your district, you may use some assessments specific for vocational. And of course, generally, many of us use some of the same ones, but it would be great to hear from you what you use. So if you don't mind typing that in the chat when you get a chance, or during Q&A, that'd be great. Individual interview. So I came up with this down through the process of when I opened up the 18 plus across the district. I noticed that there were quite a few assessments that were done, and then there were quite a few, it was lots of parent input, and then the IEPs and behavior plans. So we had lots of data, lots of documentation, but I never really saw or heard from the student. And so I created one, I didn't share it for this particular training, but I created one that got into what does the student actually think of themselves and where do they see themselves. I mean, it seems obvious that we would do that, but I know in the hustle and bustle of documentation, trying to get paperwork correct, doing IEPs, sometimes we lose sight of the student. And so that's one of the things that I strongly encourage and hope that everyone is doing, is that interview with that individual. And that's one way. Of course, parent interview. I think, again, when you go back to family support, having that parent input and interview, or just where they see their child, is important. And some of what we did with the group that I worked with was they would do the individual interview, and then they would do the parents separate. And I encouraged all of my teachers to do face-to-face meetings with the families and the student. And this gave the student an opportunity to speak for themselves. Once again, an opportunity for self-advocacy. And so it was interesting to hear the stories of the parent not knowing what their child was actually interested in, not knowing perhaps maybe their child changed their mind, or just watching the parent and the child have a discussion about what they wanted to do. And in certain instances, it almost felt like the parent and student had just had that conversation the first time. But it helped, the interviews and having them separate first kind of helped bridge that communication. So again, making sure we pull in that support is definitely important. Of course, any previous history or data that is available to you, typically it's through IEPs, grades, any participation in classes that the student may have been in previously. Whether they were successful or not, you might be able to get some great information from that. And so just as we're going through this, just think about how these assessments will contribute to the formulation of their vocational goals and those specific activities that you're going to try to pull together for them. And this is very individualized. There's no one answer for this, and each student may be on a totally different track. But when you're doing all of this data, it's really good to make sure you slow down and really think about how can I direct the student's path to get them on the right track for employment in their future. Many of us know that our students as well as our families have an idea about what they want their child to do for a living. And sometimes those things might sound like veterinarian, doctor, nurse, work in a hospital, whatever the case may be. And I'm sure because we work with those students, we know those students very well. And we don't want to be anybody's dream buster, but we want to ensure that we educate our students on what it takes to possibly become whatever that is they have an idea that they want to be. And so one of the ways that we can kind of curtail or put a reality check in place for our students is to have them do research of the jobs of interest themselves. These are types of things that I try to do in the beginning, of course, of the school year, and working with the student that whatever their goals might be, whatever they place on that vision board that they want to do, making sure they actually know what it is and what it takes to become that. Of course, you can go further into that research. Online is a great way to do it, and find out what the job requires. In some cases, they may have to look at college courses to see what college courses they need to take to do that particular job. Also, they may want to look at the job description. What is the details of the actual job? Because a lot of times I remember being young and saying I wanted to be a pediatrician. And I talked to my mom, I was very young, and I said, but the only thing is I don't want to deal with sick children. She says, well, you need to research the job because that will be the main point of your job. You're going to take care of young people that are actually sick at the time. And I thought, okay, no, that's not for me. So, it just takes a little bit of education and background for those students to hopefully get an idea of what it takes. And of course, if possible, any type of job exploration that might put them in an area where they may practice or see some of those skills in action. This is also great for families as well, parents as well, because again, this can be embedded and a part of your classroom. And so when you have a parent coming in also saying, this is what their child is going to do, it's a great way to kind of break the ice and talk about, what it takes, and hopefully it'll sink in with them. I had a student who the family really believed that he was going to have an office job. It was going to be clerical. They felt like he can do data input and type. And I noticed some things in observing him in the classroom, which was it took him a very, very long time to type things. And he did it, always was very compliant and did it, but just didn't seem to enjoy it. So I asked him, and he explained to me how his vision was when he looked at a screen, and that it caused him a lot of stress to do it. He never expressed this to his family. And so when we got inside one of our IEPs, and myself and him talked about some other areas he might be interested in besides sitting behind a computer. And I had him share that within the IEP. And I believe that was the first time he'd ever spoken up to his family, and the stress that it gave him to try to see the screen and type and do all of that, just, it wasn't for him. But because they had pushed it, he went along with it. So this whole thing of researching and really digging into what the student wants is a great tool for the student for self-advocacy, and also for that bridging that communication with the family, and ensuring that the support is going in the right area for them. So we've done assessments, we've done some interviews, we've researched some history and data for this student. And so pretty much we're at the point of, okay, so where do we take our students from this point on? Where do we go from here? And so there are some areas and places we can go. And I'm going to go ahead and go through some of those vocational activities that you may have already been privy to, or that you may want to explore once we're done with this training. So I have on here enterprise activities, and I'll discuss what that is in detail. campus-based training sites, which some of you may already have been doing. I think that's the one that's kind of been around the longest when it came to vocational training. Community-based training sites, and that's just going out in the public. And then, of course, career and technology classes as well. So enterprise is just a small business. I was very fortunate to be able to work with the district with opening up some enterprise activities for students. It is a great way to start with some soft skills, and you can make it as detailed or difficult as the student can handle in terms of the level of what they're creating, what they're selling, as well as how involved are they in the process from beginning to end. And I'll give you guys some examples of what was done. This is a picture here of, this was a class with a group of students who needed quite a bit of assistance, but the teacher found something simple that they can do for the holidays. And that was just some basic bulbs, clear bulbs with shredded paper in it. So all the students were able to participate at some level with this particular activity. And then there was another group of students that did dog treats, made quite a bit. This was actually my class, my first year that I came to the district, and it was all natural ingredients. We had a campus culture that loved dogs. We even had dogs that were being held on campus because they were stray and they wanted to ensure that it got somewhere safe. So we decided to do that. And so for about every quarter, we made $300 to $500. And with that money, we utilized it for more community experiences. We did budgeting. We went out in the community and bought things that were for independent living and all of that stuff. Also practice money skills in the community as well. And then a couple of other students went, each year it got more and more intricate as all the teachers were very creative and started to figure out what would work for their particular class. And so one teacher used a Cricut, and they did some chargers and some personalized mugs to sell right there on campus. And it was a very lucrative business because everyone at that school, which most schools or campuses have, really, really are into the spirit of their school. So anything with their school mascot on it, or if they were graduating, they were able to come in and place an order with this classroom and get those items completed and done. And we had another group, they were more on the creative side, and they did baskets, seasonal baskets. And these baskets were, sold at various prices, various sizes, and they all were themed. Now, students in that particular class were a part of every part of the process, from picking what they wanted to put in the basket, to going out and purchasing it, utilizing a budget, knowing how much they could spend to do the actual activity. And so they were able, and step by step participated. One of the things our district did, though, also was we supplied the campuses with a cart, and we did do startup money for the first year for each of the campuses. And we'll talk about how this was a sustainable activity and what ways you could possibly get donations to get something started. But we did a coffee cart, and I know this was something that has been done in the past. Ours went really, really well. We did coffee cart, and we also did snack cart. So it just depended on the campus, if the campus allowed for the students to handle hot things, or if they just felt more comfortable with prepackaged items at the time. And of course, right now, this will be different. We even had a group selling keto-friendly snacks on their snack bar, even doing smoothies. So it just depended on the campus and what was allowed. But this was a sustainable, consistent activity that could be done throughout the year. And it involved stocking, it involved advertising, all of it does, but this one was something they did continuously. It also involved customer service, money handling, you name it. When you talk about a business, every facet of that business, the teachers implemented and had the students participate. This can again be as difficult as your students can handle, or it can be something real basic if your students can't handle much at the time. So here were just some other ideas that we did at the time with Enterprise. Bath salts, sugar scrubs, lanyards, holiday cards. And some of these things, like the holiday cards, were even being ordered by families. Other administrators or other teachers on the campus participated and utilized it for personal reasons as well. Style drink coasters, mason jar layered mixes. I think I put lanyards twice, and also holiday craft sales. So any special holiday that came up, those are always fun times in which students could do some themed activities. So again, the way that my particular district started our enterprise was that they kind of slated out an amount of money, a program budget that they did a lot for the 18 plus program to start up their enterprise. And this would just, whatever that would be, we had parameters that we utilized for that. What I can say is that only the first year teachers got it. Like if you were a first year Vital teacher, some campuses got Vital later on because they were a new campus and didn't have 18 plus yet. But whenever it was new, they were given that startup money and they never had to come to ask us for any additional funding again, because one of the things we ensured was that you held back money per year so that you can go ahead and start up your next event or next enterprise activity with your students yourself. And so they had to budget that in, and they got very, very good at it. And even so much that we had to start doing a budget criteria for buying down the money that they were earning. So this was a very, very great activity for the district. Also, we had some teachers who did go for donations, going to local businesses, as well as to a lot of them use Donors Choose. And so with that, that large equipment, the crickets, and all those things were, some of them were getting it through there. Our district, and I know every district is different, did supply crickets to all the campuses after we saw the interest of the teachers and pretty much how easy it was for everyone to use and the quality of the product. But again, Donors Choose was also very a great way for them to get equipment or items to sell. So that's something to think about. And so thinking outside the box with the fact, again, mentioning COVID-19 earlier today, this enterprise idea might be something really truly to tap into, since some of us are still at home, still virtual learning. And even once you do return, your district may have some parameters in place as to actually going out in the community, and may not be that you all can get out right away. So this might be a great thing to do in the meantime to keep up with the skills of the students, and not just having them doing pen to paper activities or computer activities for vocational. This would be great and give them a little bit of a community and social outlet. Okay, so we're going to pause here for questions.
So far, we don't have any questions. I mean, we've had a lot of people share the assessments that they use. So if y'all want to go back through the chat, I think that'll give you some really good ideas of some assessments that were used. And then we've had some questions about the grants that we can provide. And so that's something Vanessa and I can help with. So if you send us an email, I mean, there's really, I said campus-based businesses, but it's really, kind of along the lines of what Latrice mentioned of a startup, help y'all get started. And so, yeah, email us and we can help you out with that. And we have some money available to help. We just got a question in. Let's see here. What were some ideas to do during distance learning?
So that I haven't really thought about yet. I kind of thought about, I have been thinking about different things. We do have students that are interested in maybe possibly some small businesses that already exist. I'm not sure if there's costs that I wouldn't want the families to have to pay for any startup costs for anything, but we do have like our Avon and our, that was something brought up in the past. Sales of any type of anything online type of thing at home would be very difficult without having the families having to buy in. If there was a way we could get something to them to create and sell and do all of that, that would be great. But yeah, I think with the enterprises, more or less, I guess once they start trickling back in. But what I would say you can do is some of the things we discussed already, like their vision board, talking about enterprise activities or things that they may want to do in the future could be a great way to kind of get the wheels turning, but I'm not real sure how we could do necessarily through internet, but definitely start the process for it.
Well, what do you think, Latrice? I mean, you mentioned things that can be done not leaving the campus. Some of those
Sure.
potentially could be done at home, right? Like
Potentially.
right. Like some
I
of the
think
enterprises plus the bringing, business into your home, I don't
yes,
know if you,
yes.
yeah.
I think the biggest thing would be the buy-in for it would definitely be more on the family to help with that. But they may come up with something just with the parents might be creative or what have you. So just kind of maybe talking about a business plan or enterprise activity that they may be interested in. And yes, they could do it from home. I guess I'm more thinking of the pressure of supplies for the family, making sure that they can get what they need to make it happen. Donations could still happen, and families could pick up some things possibly and create. But you definitely got to think outside the box with one. Yes. And I can't see the chat, so can you let me know? Uh-huh.
Oh, there's no more questions. Yeah, I'll read it.
No more.
Yeah. Samuel shared a website on there that people can go to find some ideas for working on job skills at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, enterprise might be a little, again, putting that pressure on the family, but definitely practicing vocational skills, and then just building that piece of students and what they may be interested in right now could be a great start to that. Okay. And so this is just brief on the campus-based trainings that did take place for us. We utilized the cafeteria. They did some stocking of whether it was refrigerator or prepackaged foods. All areas of the campus we utilized. This was just a great way really for some assessments before going out into the community as what the students can do. Much of my population, I would say I work with students that needed a lot more support, but I also work with students that were those students that did not quite make it out in the community with some of the larger vocational classes, but needed to work on skills at the campus level to work on like behavior and other different areas. So the campus-based sites and trainings can be utilized for all levels, is what I feel. And again, we'll be dealing with students who have been kind of out of commission for a while. So this may be a great way for you to kind of see where they are overall. And then of course we went out into the community as well. So we had some places at hotels as well as grocery stores. We kind of used, we tried to use places in which possibly training could go on in more than one area or more than one place. So we tended to go to the larger stores that kind of had the grocery part, the clothing area, and maybe a bakery. This on the left-hand side is a student of ours that actually worked in a bakery in one of the major chain stores and he was actually visually impaired. So he was excellent at it. They loved him there, and they wanted to offer him employment because he was just that great. He learned to navigate through that kitchen. And again, he was visually impaired. And then on the right, the hotel, we actually had a couple of students that were employed in a local hotel in the area, and they did work in the laundry area where they trained. And so that was one of those connections that was made, in which the employees understood the students' areas of need, and they were able to work with them around that and still offer them employment. So that was that. Also, again, the grocery store was a huge one. And then we did some restaurant. We did not ever get into the fast food area much, but we did do restaurant. And one of the great things about the restaurant was that to start our students off, having them train, we could train when the restaurants weren't open. And so we really we were able to get in there and really teach some skills without a lot of distractions to start. And so I found that those restaurants were very, very great places for us to train our students. And they did anything from rolling silverware to filling the caddies, filling the salt and pepper, wiping down tables, of course, sweeping. In some cases, some of them got into mopping. It just depended on how fast they got through that training side and how independently they worked through it. And then we had a couple of office buildings, and one was a very large one, and I believe it had about 6 or 7 floors. And on every floor, there was a area for the staff to take breaks in, and they provided everything for them, from coffee to snacks to just everything. So the students were able to go in there and restock everything, wipe everything down. Again, another site that was a great, I would say, assessment place, because again, it was low traffic. And then once the students were ready to go into something more busy or more with public, we were able to transition them right to that, and they already had the base skills down pat. One of the community training sites that we kind of tapped into later on, or as we went through this process, was our, of course, library is always good. That's considered a community site, but we really enjoyed our volunteer or our ministries that had some maybe storefronts and things that they needed to be done. So students who were interested possibly in retail and all of that, again, another great place to really teach skills, work with the student more in a quiet environment. We were able to do that. So that's what the 2 pictures are on the left. They did anything from putting toys on display to jewelry, clothing, anything that you would probably see at like a Ross or a Marshall's. And so these students started there just so we could see where they were. And then they ended up going to a local, larger store chain where there was more public interaction, but they were good at the skill set and could focus and do a good job on it. One of the interesting things that came out of this, and I know we kind of went over, just ensuring that the student has community experiences. All students may not work, and there are different reasons why. You know, a lot of times families are afraid of messing up their any type of funding that they may be receiving, or what have you. And in one of these cases, that was what happened. And the student, because they had trained at this volunteer place for free, this gave this student something to do and volunteer for once she graduated high school. And so with that, she was able to still be a productive citizen. She did not necessarily make a, earn a paycheck, but she really felt good about going there twice a week to do her job. And she even became a trainer to new volunteers as they came in. And so now that really, to me, was one of those stories that while she did not do employment the traditional way and gain a paycheck for other reasons, she was able to become involved in her community and be a citizen that felt productive. So that was a connection that we didn't expect to come out of that. district also did some vocational training site internships. And that's something that you all can look into as well. Once again, if you're open already, it might be a possibility. But in our district, it already existed that there were student workers, and so we thought outside the box that what a great opportunity for our students with disabilities that they may be able to get involved with being a student worker, earning a paycheck, and doing vocational training at the same time. And so that's what we did. It was a pilot program. Not sure how things are going to go this year with all this going on, but it was a great way to get our students involved. And these particular pictures were of the Science Resource Center that our district has. These were some students who posed or stated interest in being a veterinarian or working with animals. This was an extremely busy place with quite a few tasks that needed to be done day by day. So needless to say, these students figured that they did not want to be have anything to do with animals because of how much work it did take, and they didn't understand that at the time. So this is a great example of an exploration that did occur, and these students were able to kind of navigate a different direction for their lives because they didn't see themselves doing this particular job. And so again, like I said, with the enterprise, same thing can happen for community-based instruction. If you don't have an option to take the students out to the community, bringing those projects into the into the campus may be where you start. And I guess kind of like what Eric said, depending on how much legwork you're willing to do, this might be something you could do for students at home, and that is bring something from a local business that they can work on from the home. But it's something about when a student knows that they are doing something that is going to actually be utilized by their community, or that someone is counting on them. And so I just saw how committed and the buy-in for the student when they were able to connect with their with the community to do things like this. So it could be a plethora of things. I had some students going back to the church and to some of the things we ran into with that. I think the church was doing a giveaway for people in need and needed some packaging done for families. And that packaging, the boxes were picked up by the teacher. The teacher took it into the classroom. They packaged the items, I think they were just toiletries and things like that, packaged it for that church, and then they were able to deliver it to them to give out to the community. We also did a lot of food bank type activities as well, where they gathered groceries and placed them together for families to pick up. And we even had a group of students taking the boxes out to the cars for the families that needed it. So that give back piece was there, but they also obtained some skills through that process as well. So when I give you some pointers on talking with companies, this may be an area where you do ask, is there anything that could be picked up and brought back to our campus or to a home to be, put together for you and then brought back? Again, the buy-in of the family might be, the area that you have to work on with the family to do, or if you choose to do it yourself, you could possibly get some things out to the family home. Career and technology courses. These are courses that each district or campus offers that students can obtain a certificate. Some cases they don't, but they do get an introductory to some type of vocational, or it just gives them exposure to other areas that they could work in. The district I worked in offered automotive. I believe they could get a certificate in that. Cosmetology. They could get, I believe, the preliminary certificate, but I think they had to do their hours on their own. They added plumbing to the list, and then just other areas that the student might be interested in: public service, business, STEM, and I believe it was also with STEM, it's the health sciences. So we had students that did go to the hospitals and do some, not interning, but some exploration that way. CTE courses are yet another set of eyes on the student for vocational assessing. This is another teacher. They've been out in the community. It's a great way to collect information, data, and just where the student was in terms of their area of interest after doing these classes, and if that's something they still want to pursue. So you get so much information from these CTE courses if you do have students that are involved in it. And again, just partner with the community. I just listed some of the places that we were able to get in there and work with. Never had any issues, and they were always welcoming to us there at all of the places we worked. So hopefully your community is the same way and accepting, and I will give you all some pointers on how to get that partnering started. And that's what we're gonna go on to next. So what do we say to our managers and business owners when we're going to ask, can our students come in? You want to be able to let them know what the purpose of the training is and why you want to utilize their site. Of course, we know it's for vocational experiences for our students. One of the ways we did, and this was an actual training that I did with my teachers and others that were interested in it, they didn't know how to start off either. One of the things I researched and read about is that when you're inquiring, you also want to find out what the business needs are. You know, something about when you're going in and you're going in also as a help to the business managers and owners tend to open up. And so we began to inquire about specific things so we could think about, how do our students fit in? Will they be able to fit in? And again, also pitching to the managers how we can be a great partnership in which our students receive something and you also receive something in return. So a few of the questions were, when is the company busiest? Which days of the week? Is it during the week? During what times of the year? That was always a big one because of holidays and things like that. They tended to really, want us there. Also, one of the questions that I've asked or had the teachers ask was, what tasks can be done that are not the primary job duties of the paid employment? And I know that's a strange job, but question, vocational. We want to be sure that we are not having our students do free labor for anybody. And so kind of tapping into some of those things that maybe there's not a specific job duty for anyone, but workers can at least get in there and get some type of skill from that. And of course, we do want to explain to that partner that we are not going to be able to work at the pace of an actual paid employee. So even if they're doing something that may be a job duty, it's not at that same level of someone who is full-time employed, paid employed, okay? So that's just something we throw out there in the beginning as well. And then of course, the last question is, if you could help with anything, what would it be? So again, just reiterating, where can we fit in to help you? And then of course, I already went through the community training sites. Not sure if any of you have already done this before, and maybe in the chat, if anybody wants to share when we get to the next Q&A, any places that you guys have already had partnerships with or have worked with for your students for vocational training purposes. So in general, there are benefits to the students, of course. We're connecting class to real world, and we're getting that real world practice. Also soft skill development and hands-on training. And then of course, higher probability of gaining employment after high school. So we're getting them out there in a real world scenario that it makes the probability higher of them actually getting work or employment after school. Um, and also the students get to network with the potential employer. So that was something I got to see and was very excited about when I would go and visit sites where my teachers were with students, the relationship building that the students got to do with other workers as well as the manager. We really taught that self-determination, self-advocacy, that when they need help with something, if they needed a clarification of anything, trying to bridge that communication between them and the manager was something when we felt that the student was ready for that level, we kind of encouraged it because it built those relationships with those partners in the community. And so that was something really, really great to see. And that the managers look forward to seeing the students come in and work with them. They just became a part of the team. And again, to watch the student light up, to know that they're welcomed by their the place where they're going to work or going to train was a great ego booster or moral booster for the student, and gave them a peek into what life could be like if they did get employed somewhere. So that was great to see. And then, of course, there are benefits to the employer. You get the collaboration that enhances school and community involvement, a promotion of inclusive, diverse environment, which all employers strive for. And then, of course, increasing their pool of potential employers. So, just as a student is gaining those skills that makes their probability higher to get employed, it also helps that employer in terms of their pool of potential employers. So that was something great to see. Pretty much those two areas that I just discussed. What some of my teachers did after we did some trainings and did all of this is they created brochures. And so part of the process in collaborating or partnering with the community would be that consistency is key. Leaving them something to read about. Of course, your card is great, but I found that the brochures were something that I saw teachers get faster, quicker responses, because if they had to take it up the chain, call corporate or talk to someone in corporate or what have you, they had a little teach that kind of helped them explain what we were trying to do. And so that was very, very helpful. I saw in the process. That's something that we probably developed by the second year. That we were all opened up across the district. So that's something to think about in terms of as you go to try to seek out contracts and partnering with the community, that you come up with maybe a small little brochure about what you're doing and why you're doing it and the benefits to both the employer and the student. And some of you may have already done that or do that at this time. So we're going to pause again for questions and answers if anybody has any.
We have been busy on the chat.
Oh, okay.
So good. It's good. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see if we can get through everything. I mean, a lot of them people have been answering and being involved. So I think that'll help.
Good.
So our
Good.
first question, what are your thoughts on the direction of transition leaders saying that campus-based 18+ practices or programs are not best practice? How would smaller districts combat this? And this my initial thought, and this is your question, but I'm just intact, right? I mean, they present a lot of research on what is best practice, and so that's where I would go. What are your thoughts?
That would be the same for me. The campus base, to me, again, one is a source of assessments, as I kept discussing, for you as a teacher to see where the student can go. And also generalization. I mean, that is probably one of the most difficult things for our students with disabilities, that we kind of stay in a classroom and that's pretty much our space. But if you could take them to another area of the campus to see how other places operate, what types of jobs are in those other places right there on your campus, because again, going out in the community may be on hold for a while. It's just a great tool to start implementing those vocational skills, building skills. We have to start somewhere. So I agree with you, Eric, on that. It is a lot of research out there that says any type of training that can be done is useful for our students in the long run. Yeah. But I do also understand, if they have issues with maybe certain areas of the campus, so you may be able to compromise. And then let's go back again to, while maybe they might not feel they want you physically out at the time, maybe start with something in the classroom that you could bring from an office. So we had teachers going in, they were doing some additional office work for the campus. So they were stamping late passes or collating things, just different office skills that they found for the student to do right there in the classroom. So sometimes when you're trying to change the philosophy of some place, maybe starting small, or maybe again bringing it to the classroom might be a great way to start. And then it'll get folks talking about how helpful and useful you all were to them, and how much skills the students gain from that activity or something. So.
Yeah, and Susan Jones, I don't know if you had something to say. I can't unmute you. I don't know why, but if you want to type it in the chat, and I'll keep going on here to the next question. So this is when you were at the community job sites, and it says, does it require a food handler cert to work in the cafe at school? Some of the campuses, and then some people kind of answered that using, how to get the funds for that, as well as
Yes.
the question of, can TWC help with food handlers as well?
Mm-hmm. They can. We did run into that where we needed some of our students would have to obtain that. And so, yes, also some of the families just did it. I mean, we said that we needed it and they did it. And then I believe some of the students actually used whatever enterprise money that they had. Enterprise, again, was just one of those great resources where it's supplemented for something, so that they used it for that as well. Again, it would depend on what your district allows and all of that. But yes, I believe TWC though did step in and help with that. I believe it's only like $7 to $10 for that.
Yeah. And then someone had a question about creating specialized courses or supports for CTE courses. So I guess, how you would create a specific course.
How to create it?
Well, I'm not sure. Let's see here. The question is, have you heard as far as creating specialized courses or supports for CTE courses and preparation for IBC?
I have not heard of that. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, since
I'm not sure if I understand the exact question, but
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that whenever I was in the district, so do you mean CTED, someone said, but or innovative courses, right? And you can, there's ways to get innovative courses. I know in the district, we would look at that. I mean, it's a process, and it's something you have to go through your district, kind of discuss that with them, because that's there's a process. So that's who I would go to and tell them, you have an idea for a class that you want to create.
And we did, and actually the district I have did create about 3 or 4. I kind of know what she's saying, but yes, it is a huge process to add specialized courses, for students with disabilities. Yeah, I think we may have 3 or 4 that we did implement, but yeah, it's a process.
And it's your district. I mean, I know like we created some just local credit courses, so they didn't really actually receive credit, and they were more open to doing that. And so we would, if we knew we needed the skills but not the credits, we would sometimes create just a local credit course and being able to work on the skills with them there.
And we did do that for life skills, the local credit. But I do believe from that we did, they recently, created some specialized courses for credit for individuals with disabilities specifically. So it is a process though, you're right.
Yeah. And someone said you can't substitute any courses foundation plan, and that's exactly right. I mean, this is what you would do whenever you're not looking to you don't need courses, but you're not needing credit, but you are looking for a course to build skills
That's true.
that you can put students into. Another question here, is there information about insurance if the student is required insurance on the job site. We've had quite a few people address that.
Insurance.
Yeah, so that like being covered by the district is.
Yeah, we did not. We, for our programming, we also, we didn't do, we never were faced with insurance. So I don't know that that is a requirement, but also for our students, we did not allow for background checks either. So there are some things that an employer might require or want you to do. And there were if it went into too much detail, like insurance or background checks. So
yeah, we checked with our district to see what they covered, and then whenever we're getting with businesses, what they require, and see if they match. I mean, we always were fine either way, just making sure that we were covered. We never had having to purchase anything extra or different.
No additional. Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Have you partnered with VR to set up any paid work experiences? All those students I've worked with in 18+ programs get 12-week paid work experiences in the community. They do vocational experiences first and then move towards paid work. And I'm guessing this is beyond like some of the summer programs.
Yes, that would be some of the summer programs. We did do another, which we'll talk about later, but I was able to venture with VR with a program that came into our campuses, but it wasn't paid. The summer programs were more of the ones that they did get paid for. So those are available too.
Mm-hmm. All right, last one, maybe. Let's see. This is are there any sessions that address Fair Labor Standard Act for teachers and districts to be familiar with?
Yeah, I've done that one before as well. Lots of details with that one, but I did not add it for this particular training. But there's some pretty, specific guidelines for hours, how many hours we work, logging the hours, all of that.
Yeah, maybe we can share that out. I think we maybe got like 20 minutes left, so maybe if you want to, we can. Any other questions? If we got to all the questions that were asked, or any more that come up along this line, we can email them out, the answers.
Sure. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So just putting it all together, we've done assessments, we've kind of brainstormed some ideas of what type of trainings we might do or where we may want to go with students in the community, or either some enterprise options. And so once we decide we're going to take them out to this particular site, there's some environmental things that we want to be sure of, which again, if you haven't been out yet, this is something that might help again with deciding where you decide to go with your students. And so that environment does contribute to the student success. We want to make sure that the number of students or number of opportunities that are available at the one site. I think we kind of mentioned that before. How many areas of training can you get out of one site, which I thought was very helpful and useful when taking students out within a short period of time. Also, the size of the site. Is it a large site, a small site? So how many students can you accommodate in the area that would be feasible for training for you? And if you have assistants or whatever, how many students would be reasonable to take? And then, of course, I always look at exposure to the public versus private. Again, just depending on the students and what skills you're working with. I know that at times we have students that you may want to really ensure that there's some behavior issues and things that are being addressed, and that the student is successfully working through those things. So you may want to consider a private or more private work site to start with. Again, our small businesses are very good with that. Small business owners, private business owners, those are great places to start students off in and work in and get a plethora of skills embedded in that. Also, the conditions of the site. Is it indoor or outdoor? So, we do have students, outdoors just off limits for various reasons. So you may decide that maybe at the time in the summer, we just got back from school, off-site, outdoor work is just not gonna work for us. So I created a little work site evaluation form that might be useful to you as you're going out. This was something that I kind of did mentally for myself when I started trying to help the teachers figure out spaces and what students they had and what would be helpful for them. And so I did some research and kind of found some evaluation that would make sense for us. And I kind of put in what made sense for our individual disabilities. So it just goes through big workspace, small workspace. Are there stairs, wheelchair accessibility? Is there any lifting required? Is it repetitive work, rotation work? Does it require you to stand, bend? All of those things. And then at the bottom of that, what I would do when I would walk away from that site, what potential vocational opportunities are there on that job? This is a great way to just brainstorm as to what direction you're going in. As I was doing this process too, this will be also a great document to maybe even have or personalize for some of your, or individualize for some of your students. So you could kind of talk about the work site. You could change this up however you want to, where they were, and kind of some of the things that they did there. And then down in the area where it says potential vocational opportunities, you could be specific about what that student did in that location. And so then again, that may help with data, naturally help with data, but also again, where your students might fit once you do this evaluation is what this is for, what works for you all. Once you get the worksite evaluation and the potential jobs, of course, we all know this, but I always remind everyone that we want to make sure that we do our task analysis on whatever jobs that they're going to do, because again, the biggest issue or the thing that we want to be sure of is that our students are independent as much as possible. And so in order to do that, we kind of want to make sure all the steps to that job is broken down and that that student is getting through that. And then of course, scaffolding. So we know we may start off with some supports and we want to get them to a certain place. With that scaffolding, we want to be sure that we're fading out what we need to as that student becomes more and more independent. And again, I believe we all naturally do all of this, but I think for vocational training, it's very, very important that we are conscious of doing it so that once we fade out, that student can truly stand alone in that possible employment that they may obtain. One of the places we explored and got a partnership with was Bahama Bucks, and small business owner. He has a few of them, but small business owner. And so this is just some pictures of some of the things that they did, from the back room to unloading and getting all the flavors intact where the ice was. Also cleaning the bottles and refilling the flavors, down to the front, going into the front area where they actually refill the flavors that the workers utilize to make the specialty snow cones and all of that. And then even down to something as simple as opening up the umbrellas that went inside some of their specialty drinks. They also had cleaning that they did, bathroom area, I mean, you name it. In this small space, there were many, many things to do. So to support the teachers, we did the worksite evaluation together, and we came up with quite a few jobs. And so I just like to show this because in one place, you can come up with so many things that the student can do there, but we want to be sure that they're doing it accurately and again, as independent as possible. So it just goes through those lists of things. From the outdoor front location, they had umbrellas that needed to be put out, neatly arranging chairs outside, sweeping, picking up trash in the outside area, and then coming into the front with the front area, wiping tables again, sweeping, cleaning windows, from the rug, trash cans, refilling napkins, just a list of things. And we went all the way through and found so many things and jobs for a student to do. So we began from this to start to think about what the students' tasks were, who could do what, and what types of supports did they need. And so, you know, if it was just a checklist that helped the student get through all of those things, we were able to create one that was realistic for that student. And of course, as they got through it, we were able to fade back what we needed to. But again, one job site can have a whole list of things to do. So that was just an example of that. And this is just a basic example of a task analysis of cleaning the table. Again, this is something I know we all do, but again, task analysis can be specific to the job. So for example, with the Bahama Bucks, if there was a process or how the process was to refill the flavors and cleaning the bottles off when you're done, those particular steps, of course, you can make this very tailored to the specific job site that they're going to. And it's important that we do it because it's easy to assume that the student is just getting it from us showing them, but it's always good to remember, again, we will fade out and we will walk away. So making sure that they have what they need to continue on without us. And so the data collection and all of that we've done and the documented experiences are pretty much listed out here, from our beginning assessments, the data on the job, which I think is definitely an important piece to it, making sure we're doing that as well, in documenting student progress, that the students themselves review the progress, that again, that self-advocacy piece, that they are doing it for themselves, and also that the family is understanding of what the student is doing as well while out on the vocational sites, supporting the student in documenting their own progress, again, self-advocacy piece. All job duties, again, should be documented. Everything that they've ever done on the job, we want to make sure we capture it. Of course, this is where the student begins their resume, because they are documenting things that they've already done. It's a great source for once they begin to work possibly with the state agency, or if they simply go on and apply for a job. This is something that they can put down that they've done before, and that's very important. So going into state agency connection, there are benefits, of course, to this whole process of vocational training. And to me, what I saw with this, it was a great aid to transition our students from the school format to the state format. One of the things that our district was able to do, we did work with VR closely. We did participate in the Texas A&M statewide conference. And from that conference, we were able to sit down with VR workers in our area. And we made those plans. That was the end of the conference, where we actually sat together, round table, and made plans of what we were going to do for the upcoming school year. And we did that. We worked with the VR specialist, and we wanted her more visible on our campuses and implementing programs that they had available. And we did it. We were able to actually experience some trainings that she brought in to our campuses, and our students got that during the school year, especially since they're 18 plus and did not require any other credits at the time. One of the other things that, again, and they were able to, going back a little bit, VR was able to also document the students' progress, as well as in one of the courses that they did for us on the campus, the students, once completed, received certificates of completion. So that was one notch of something that they would have done maybe after school had ended, or even in the summertime that they got done during the school year. So that agency connection and collaboration is extremely important. And that was pretty much my experience, was the collaborative effort between the school and the state agency, working very closely together. Because we've done so much great data and assessing throughout the year, and had specifics on what we had done, and were able to speak with them about that, they kind of were able to get right in there and fill in the score, pretty much for where they can support where we had not done already. So that was something that we found. And also it was an easy transition for the students to connect to the agency, and bring in the family piece too, because we had been doing great communication with families and ensuring that they understood what their student was working on vocationally. When we brought in VR and had meetings, the parent was very comfortable to discuss basically where their child is going to go in the future as it pertains to state agency connection. So that was a great connection or collaboration. So we've all completed the process, and basically we've done our assessments, worksite evaluation, created a list of jobs that would be best suitable for our students on that job by doing task analysis and scaffolding, of course. And then, of course, we've aligned that job as best possible with those students' vocational goals. And from this, we do have a great snapshot of the student resume portfolio that can be shared once they leave us. And so I also added on here a transition planning document that might be useful to you as well. And it pretty much is, I'm sure you all may have some sort of form similar to this, but I did this one specifically for transition so that we kind of could keep up with specifics about what we're doing with that student. And so we did some personal preference surveys, which is our person-centered survey, individual IEP plans, behavior plans, any type of interviews we've done with the student and family, the transition supplements, vocational assessments, work site evaluation tools, and any type of job supports or task lists or picture supports that we use, we added that. And so again, going back to state agency connection and bridging that and communicating with those outside places, this was a great way to really put a clear picture of the student right in front of that person that was there to help them. And so it made it so much more smoother. And that is it. If we have any more questions at this time, I don't know how much time we have left. I think 5 minutes.
Yeah, we have about 5 minutes.
Yes.
We have not received any questions. So if anyone has anything that they want to put in here, please let us know. I am going to paste our survey. This is something that will end up going out probably today or tomorrow as well. It's satisfaction survey for our training, something that we do that helps us continue to get paid to continue to provide services. So we really appreciate it if you would fill this out either now or whenever you get the email from Vanessa. So we're getting a lot of, this is great, informative, and thank you. So.
Oh, good. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you all for joining us on the Zoom today. I know everyone is busy, but we appreciate your time today. Please, because we'll love to get your feedback, especially since we have upcoming trainings. So please, once you get the evaluation, or go to the link that Eric uploaded and give us your feedback, because it really helps us as we move forward in coordinating trainings. Also, don't forget about our upcoming training in October. We'll be sending that out really shortly, really, after this training, or possibly tomorrow morning. If not, you can always go to the CDD website and click on capacity building, and you can register through the web page as well. So thank you so much again for attending. It's been a great afternoon spending with you all. Eric, do you have anything else?
I don't. You did very well, much better than me, I feel, but yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I mean, we really enjoy getting to put these on, and we're very excited about the number of you that have joined us, and we hope we continue to grow this and through the months, and then hopefully soon we get to be back face to face, right? But maybe we can continue doing these if they continue to be successful. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.